The internet didn't just wake up today. It was ripped out of its sleep by a confession, so explosive that fans are calling it the most dangerous moment in Braxton family history. Because Tamar Braxton didn't just hint. She didn't just shade. She didn't just cry. She accused. And the names she dropped sent shockwaves straight through the bloodline that built an empire. In a moment that insiders say was never supposed to air, Tamar allegedly leaned into the mic, voice shaking but steady, and said the words no one was prepared to hear. My mother sacrificed Tracy. And she sacrificed my father. The room froze. Producers stopped breathing. Comment sections erupted before the clip even finished loading. Because if that claim is even half true, it doesn't just change how we see the Braxtons, it rewrites everything. According to Tamar's version of events, Evelyn Braxton wasn't just a strong matriarch. She was a strategist. A gatekeeper. A woman who chose control over compassion and image over innocence. Tamar claims Tracy paid the price first, quietly pushed aside, emotionally punished, and made to carry the weight of decisions she didn't make. Then came Michael Braxton Sr., allegedly erased from his daughters' lives and turned into the villain of a story he never got to tell. And the most chilling part. Tamar says this wasn't accidental. It was intentional. As leaked recordings, private messages, and long-buried letters begin surfacing online, fans are asking one terrifying question. What if the family glue was actually holding everything hostage? Because if Tamar is telling the truth, this isn't just family drama. It's a generational sacrifice, and the fallout has only just begun. The moment Tamar Braxton opened her mouth, the entire room felt like it lost oxygen. Not because she was yelling. Not because she was crying. But because her voice was steady in a way that only comes when someone has carried a truth for too long, and finally decides to drop it like a grenade. She didn't hesitate. She didn't soften it. She said it clean, sharp, and irreversible. My mother sacrificed Tracy. And she sacrificed my father. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was stunned. The kind of silence that knows something holy has just been violated. Within minutes, clips were ripped from the interview and hurled across the internet like wildfire. Twitter combusted. Group chats imploded. Fans who had grown up watching the Braxtons argue, reconcile, pray, sing, and cry suddenly realized they had only been seeing the surface. Tamar wasn't revisiting drama. She was rewriting the family history in blood-red ink. Insiders say this wasn't planned. Tamar wasn't supposed to say it. Producers allegedly tried to redirect the conversation, but once she started, there was no stopping it. She leaned forward, eyes glassy but burning, and asked a question that hit like a slap. Everybody calls Evelyn the glue, she said. But nobody asks what the glue was made of. That line alone detonated thousands of reaction videos within the hour. Tamar began with Tracy. Not the public Tracy. Not the jokes, the one-liners, the comic relief edit viewers were fed for years. Tamar talked about the Tracy behind closed doors. The sister who wanted the same dream as the rest of them. The sister who showed up to rehearsals early. The sister who was told she messed everything up by getting pregnant at the wrong time. According to Tamar, the pregnancy wasn't just a complication. It became a sentence. She claims Evelyn didn't protect Tracy when the record deal fell apart. She didn't comfort her. She didn't reassure her. Instead, Tamar says Evelyn framed the pregnancy as betrayal. As selfishness. As weakness. Tamar admitted, her voice cracking, that the sisters followed their mother's lead. We left her, Tamar said quietly. Because Mama told us it was her fault. That confession alone sent fans spiraling back through old episodes, freezing frames, replaying moments where Tracy stood on the outside of her own family. The dismissive looks. The way her pain was minimized. The way she was always made to explain herself. Suddenly, it wasn't just reality TV editing. It felt intentional. Then the first alleged leak hit. A voice memo began circulating online, supposedly recorded years ago, allegedly Tracy speaking to a close friend. Her voice was tired. Defeated. She said she felt punished for wanting a family. That she felt like her own mother didn't fight for her. One line shattered listeners. They didn't want me. My own mother didn't fight for me. Tamar later claimed the voice memo was real. That she had heard it long before the public ever did. And that it haunted her. Tamar alleged Evelyn told producers early on that Tracy had made her bed and had to live with it. That the family couldn't wait for someone who didn't prioritize the group. Dead weight. Tamar repeated the phrase with visible disgust, like the words themselves burned her tongue. Dead weight. The internet recoiled. But Tamar didn't stop there. She said Evelyn kept Tracy emotionally distant for years. Therapy offers declined. Apologies withheld. Pain acknowledged only if it didn't challenge Evelyn's authority. If Mama didn't agree with your feelings, Tamar said, your feelings didn't exist. Then she shifted to her father. Michael Braxton Sr. Tamar described a childhood where resentment toward her father filled the house like smoke. She said Evelyn's anger became the atmosphere they breathed. Every argument. Every warning. Every lesson. All of it colored by bitterness toward a man Tamar says she barely knew as a person. She claims Evelyn didn't just divorce Michael. She erased him. As Tamar spoke, another alleged recording exploded online. A voice, believed to be Evelyn's, speaking to a friend during the divorce. The words were brutal. The girls don't need him. I can raise them myself. He chose the streets. He chose that woman. So let him lose his daughters too. Whether real or not, the recording hit like a gut punch. Fans began connecting dots that suddenly felt impossible to ignore. Tamar said she remembered wanting to call her father and being shut down instantly. Why do you want to talk to him? Evelyn would ask. Did he ever feed you? Did he ever clothe you? Tamar said she grew up believing her father was a villain because her mother's voice drowned out his absence. Then came the detail that shifted everything. Tracy didn't buy Evelyn's version of events. According to Tamar, Tracy stayed close to their father. She visited him, defended him, refused to let anyone dictate who she was allowed to love. And Tamar believes that choice sealed Tracy's fate inside the family. She claims Evelyn never forgave Tracy for choosing Michael emotionally. She says Tracy became collateral damage in a war that had nothing to do with her. She sacrificed Tracy to punish my father, Tamar said, her voice shaking. And we all went along with it. The internet erupted. Fans posted clip after clip of moments where Tracy was ignored or dismissed. People noticed how often Evelyn snapped at Tracy compared to the others. How quickly her emotions were shut down. A pattern emerged that felt too consistent to be coincidence. Then came the third alleged leak. A handwritten journal entry attributed to Tracy surfaced online. The handwriting shaky. The words devastating. I feel like Mama only loves the daughters who agree with her. I didn't agree, so she let me go. The post went viral within minutes. Whether authentic or not, it crystallized what Tamar had been saying in a way nothing else could. Tamar revealed that in the months before Tracy passed, Tracy tried to reconcile with Evelyn. Tried to talk. Tried to heal. But according to Tamar, the conversations never changed. Evelyn cried, but never apologized. She acknowledged a scanned letter dated decades ago, allegedly written by him to Evelyn, begging to see his daughters. The language was desperate, humble, broken. He wrote that he didn't want to fight, didn't want courts, didn't want drama. He just wanted to be a father. Beneath the letter was a handwritten note allegedly from Evelyn in red ink. "You lost that right when you walked away." Michael looked into the camera and said quietly, "I didn't walk away. I was pushed." The chat went feral. Before anyone could process that, he played an audio clip. Evelyn's voice. Sharp. Furious. Recorded years ago. She said, "If you come back, I'll make sure they never forgive you." Michael paused the audio and said something that hit like a body blow. "That's when I realized loving my daughters meant letting them believe I didn't." Tamar broke down. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing, shaking her head like she was watching her entire childhood reassemble itself in front of her eyes. Producers tried to cut to commercial. The feed glitched. Viewers screamed in the comments. Michael kept going. He said Tracy was the only one who questioned the story. The only one who still showed him love openly. The only one who didn't swallow the narrative whole. And because of that, he claimed, she became a problem. He said Tracy paid the price for refusing to hate him. Then came the recording that shattered everything. It was a conversation between Michael and Tracy from years later, after fame, after the show, after the wounds had already calcified. Tracy's voice was fragile. She asked him why he didn't fight harder for them. Michael answered through tears, saying he was threatened, silenced, warned that if he pushed back, Evelyn would accuse him of things that would destroy him forever. "I chose to be the villain," he said, "because monsters don't get to come back and hurt their kids." That line broke people. Timelines flooded with messages honoring Tracy, apologizing to her, mourning her in a way fans said they never got to before. People re-watched old scenes with new eyes. Her pain wasn't dramatics. It was survival. But Michael wasn't finished. He revealed that Evelyn's control didn't stop with Tracy or him. He said Tamar inherited the fallout. That the emotional volatility everyone criticized her for was learned behavior in a household where love came with conditions. Where being too much meant being punished. Where obedience was safety. Then he said the sentence Tamar had been dreading. "There was something Evelyn told me the night she filed for divorce," he said. "Something I never told Tamar, because I didn't want to break her." Tamar screamed. A sound raw enough to cut glass. She begged him to stop. The interviewer reached for her. The studio felt like it was collapsing inward. Michael swallowed hard and said it anyway. "She told me she wished she'd never had Tamar." The reaction was instantaneous and violent. Viewers cried openly. Comment sections erupted in rage. Producers rushed Tamar as she slid to the floor, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Michael continued, voice breaking, explaining that Evelyn said Tamar was too much like him. Too emotional. Too uncontrollable. Too independent. "That's why she treated you the way she did," he said. "You reminded her of me." Everything suddenly made sense in the most devastating way possible. Tamar's public breakdowns. Her fear of abandonment. Her desperate need to be heard. Her explosive reactions to control. Fans realized they weren't watching chaos. They were watching trauma replay itself on a stage built by millions. Michael ended his live by saying Evelyn didn't just sacrifice Tracy. She sacrificed him. And she almost sacrificed Tamar. All in the name of control. The screen went black. The studio was silent except for Tamar's sobs. But the chaos wasn't over. Within hours, old clips of Evelyn resurfaced. Moments where she mocked Tracy. Moments where she dismissed Michael. Moments where she gaslit Tamar. Everything was recontextualized. Hashtags trended. Debates raged. Some defended Evelyn as a woman hurt by betrayal. Others called her manipulative and emotionally violent. Then Evelyn finally responded. Not with a statement. Not with an apology. With silence. That silence became the loudest sound of all. Because insiders say Evelyn was scrambling behind the scenes, calling lawyers, demanding takedowns, threatening defamation suits. But the damage was already done. The story had escaped her control for the first time ever. And just when it felt like the worst had already happened, a new notification appeared on Tamar's phone. A message from an unknown number. It read, "There's one more thing your father doesn't know." Tamar looked at the screen. Her crying stopped. Her face went still. And she whispered, "Oh God, not that." Because whatever that message referred to wasn't about the past. It was about something Evelyn was still hiding. And if it came out, this family wouldn't just fracture. It would never recover. The message sat on Tamar's phone like a ticking device. Insiders say she stared at it for a full minute without blinking, her breathing shallow, her hands trembling, because whatever Michael had just exposed was only the surface. This was deeper. This was something Evelyn had buried so thoroughly that even Michael Braxton Sr. hadn't been allowed near it. Tamar stood up slowly, wiping her face, her voice suddenly calm in a way that terrified everyone in the room. She whispered, "She lied about more than one thing." The interviewer asked what she meant, but Tamar didn't answer. She walked off set, phone still glowing in her hand, while producers scrambled to keep the feed from collapsing entirely. Minutes later, blogs began posting that Tamar had locked herself in a private room and refused to speak to anyone except her attorney and one unnamed family member. The internet assumed it was Tony. They were wrong. It was Michael Sr. again. Because Tamar had realized something chilling. Her father had told the truth as he knew it. But Evelyn's final secret wasn't about him. It wasn't about Tracy. It was about what she did after the divorce. And who she did it to. Then the leak hit. An anonymous account uploaded a short audio clip, less than 30 seconds long, allegedly recorded years ago, during a heated argument between Evelyn and Tamar. The audio was rough, distorted, but unmistakable. Evelyn's voice snapped, "You don't know what I protected you from." Tamar's younger voice cried, "From who?" Evelyn replied, cold and final, "From the truth." The clip cut off. That was enough. The internet erupted again, but this time the tone shifted from shock to dread. Fans began digging, resurfacing old interviews where Tamar spoke vaguely about things happening in her teenage years that she never explained. Old tweets where she mentioned feeling unsafe in her own home. Moments everyone had brushed off as drama suddenly looked like warnings. Then Michael Sr. went live again. This time, his face was different. Haunted. He admitted he received a call from Tamar after the first stream. She asked him one question he wasn't prepared for. "Did Mama ever tell you why she was so desperate to keep us close?" Michael said he answered honestly. He didn't know. And that's when Tamar told him about the message. Michael paused, eyes glassy, and said, "There are things Evelyn did that I didn't find out about until years later. Things that had nothing to do with me." He admitted Evelyn controlled more than narratives. She controlled access. She controlled information. She controlled who was allowed to speak and who was silenced. Then he said the sentence that froze everyone watching. "She made deals." The chat exploded. Deals with who? For what? Michael explained that Evelyn was obsessed with preserving the family image at all costs. He claimed there were moments when outside forces threatened that image, and Evelyn chose reputation over protection. He didn't name specifics. He didn't have to. The implication was enough to make people sick. Within hours, another leak surfaced. A heavily redacted document described as a family confidentiality agreement, signed decades ago, involving minors, and reputational preservation. Names were blacked out. Dates aligned with Tamar's adolescence. The internet collectively held its breath. Tamar finally returned to social media late that night. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She spoke slowly, deliberately, every word weighted. She said, "I defended my mother my entire life, because I thought she was protecting us. Now I'm realizing she was protecting herself." She paused, swallowing hard. "And some of us paid for that." Fans begged her to explain. She shook her head. "I can't say everything yet. But I will say this. Tracy wasn't the only one sacrificed." That line detonated. Speculation went nuclear. Was Tamar implying herself? Another sibling? Someone outside the public eye? Blogs went into overdrive. Old timelines were reanalyzed. Episodes rewatched frame by frame. Interviews dissected for hidden meaning. Evelyn remained silent. Until she didn't. Evelyn Braxton released a statement through her lawyer the next morning. It was cold. Controlled. It denied everything. Called the leaks fabricated. Accused Michael of bitterness. Accused Tamar of emotional instability. Said she did what any mother would do to survive. That sentence backfired catastrophically. Because minutes later, another recording surfaced. Evelyn speaking to a therapist years ago, allegedly saying, "Survival sometimes means letting one child hurt, so the rest can eat." The audio spread like wildfire. Fans recoiled. Commentators fell silent. Even long-time Evelyn defenders hesitated. Michael went live one final time. He said he didn't want revenge. He wanted accountability. He said Evelyn taught her daughters strength, but also taught them fear. He said Tracy carried the weight of that fear until it killed her spirit. He said Tamar carried it until it nearly killed her sanity. Then he said something that reframed everything. "The scariest part," he said, "is that Evelyn truly believes she did the right thing." Tamar watched the live from home. Insiders say she didn't cry this time. She sat still, absorbing it all, finally understanding that the woman she spent her life protecting would never admit fault. Never apologize. Never see the damage. The internet turned. Hashtags calling for accountability trended worldwide. Fans demanded a sit-down interview. Networks offered seven-figure deals. Tamar declined all of them. She released one final message instead. She wrote, "Breaking cycles means telling the truth even when it destroys the image you were taught to worship." That was it. No more posts. No interviews. No clarifications. Evelyn retreated from public view. Michael disappeared again, his work done. The family fractured quietly, irreparably, no dramatic reunion waiting at the end of the season. And the most haunting part. Tracy's voice, pulled from an old interview, began circulating everywhere. She once said, "I just wanted my mama to love me without conditions." That sentence became the epitaph of the entire saga. Not because the truth finally came out, but because it came out too late to save the one who needed it most. If you're still here right now, it means you felt it. The weight. The shock. The moment where everything you thought you knew cracked wide open. This isn't just a story you watched pass by. You just witnessed a legacy unravel in real time, and what happens next depends on who stays paying attention. Because this saga is not over. Not even close. There are still voices that haven't spoken. Still recordings that haven't surfaced. Still decisions made in silence that are begging to be dragged into the light. And when the next revelation drops, it won't come politely. It will come suddenly, brutally, and without warning. One post. One leak. One sentence. That's all it takes to flip the entire narrative again. If you don't hit like right now, this conversation gets buried. If you don't comment what you believe really happened, your perspective disappears while history gets rewritten in real time. And if you're not subscribed with notifications turned on, you will miss the exact moment the next truth bomb detonates across the internet. This is bigger than gossip. This is about power, control, silence, and the damage left behind when truth is delayed for decades. People are watching. Stories are shifting. And the next chapter could drop tonight, tomorrow, or while you're asleep. Don't let someone else tell you what happened after the fact. Like the video. Drop your theory in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications right now. Because when this story explodes again, and it will, you do not want to be the last one to know.